WWE NXT In Your House 2022 was the first premium live event / pay-per-view event for NXT 2.0 since NXT Stand and Deliver. Much has changed since that time, which made this a very different show. Braun Breaker has been battling the mind games of Joe Gacy for months. While he has his challenger beat in a physical battle, Gacy was looking to get him disqualified to win the NXT Championship. Mandy Rose has dominated NXT with Gigi Dolan and JC Jane, but all three women were required to put their titles on the line against dangerous challengers. Wendy Chu was after the NXT Women's Championship, while Katana Chance and Kaden Carter wanted the NXT Women's Tag Team titles. Cameron Grimes finally faced former North American champion Carmelo Hayes one-on-one with the gold on the line. The champion needed to prove he could beat one of NXT's greatest modern champions to solidify his own reign. The Creed brothers looked for revenge and gold in a tag team clash with Pretty Deadly. Tony D'Angelo and Santos Escobar clashed in a six-man tag team match where the fate of the families was on the line. This show had potential, but it was far more down than up, with multiple matches not delivering. Or was it? Hello, friends, and welcome everybody to Ridiculously Raw, the most must-see show on YouTube and Streaming.com today. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined as always by, good old MF Michael Fletcher's here. All right. Good to have MF with us. He's been very busy lately, but I'm glad MF is with us tonight. And of course, as always, the Phenom Michael Bullock, fresh off another one of our legendary Raw chats, as always. And gentlemen, initially, we had planned on doing the NXT In Your House review on Wednesday, but when we looked at Wednesday's docket, we felt that it was best to do it tonight because tonight we only had Raw and my Tony's takes, so I think we could spare a little more time for this. So with all that, let's run it down. NXT In Your House took place this past Saturday night from the Capitol Wrestling Center, or the WWE Performance Center, in Orlando, Florida, on pay-per-view, also streaming on Peacock and the WWE Network internationally. And gentlemen, I think you see the hardware on your screen right about now in the terms of the NHL. So we will. So with that, let's start it off. There were two dark matches prior to this event. Maybe they taped them for NXT Level Up, maybe. I don't know. Valentina Feroz defeating Ariana Grace, and Iki Manjiro with a win over Dante Chen. Now let's get to the main card. The family. Tony D'Angelo, Channing Stacks Lorenzo, Troy Two Dimes Donovan versus Legado del Fantasma of Santos Escobar, Cruz del Toro, and Joaquin Wilde, with the beautiful Elektra Lopez in their corner. Losing team joins the winning team's stable. Winners of the match, 12 minutes and 45 seconds. The family. Tony D'Angelo, Channing Stacks Lorenzo, Troy Two Dimes Donovan. They get the win. Good opener, but it wasn't much more than a strong NXT 2.0 tag team match. The crowd was a bit generous in their loud reactions to the action. It made the most sense for Legado to join the new stable. There should be plenty of fun to be had in the aftermath of this result. Escobar will be forced to play the lackey, while Elektra Lopez will have to deal with Tony D in other ways. For the effort, I will give this 3.25, teetering on 3.5 for the effort. I mean, the crowd was really into this match, so there isn't much more to say on that. MF, Legado del Fantasma now has to join the family. Oh,
yeah, this will not be this will be very uncomfortable for these guys. But I will say this: this was a great match. This was a 3.25-star fight. This was entertaining, to say the very least. Very good opener for the NXT In Your House, and it was enjoyable. I thought the body of work of all the guys together was really good. It was solid action. Even though I think we kind of knew how the outcome was going to go, because we all called for Tony D'Angelo and the family to win it, and when we were correct on that, At the end of the day, we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. But yeah, absolutely. Um, Great opener. So nothing more to say. And Michael Bullock is yours.
Yeah, 3.25 stars for me. I mean, yeah, somehow I knew this Tony D'Angelo and his team would walk away with this, and now Legado del Fantasma has to join the family. So yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see how it goes. So there's really nothing more to add to it. So let's move on, Florio.
And then in every match from here on in, a title match. First up, for the NXT Women's Tag Team Championship, the champions, Toxic Attraction, Gigi Dolan and JC Jane, defending against Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. Winners of the match, 9 minutes and 1 second, and still the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, Gigi Dolan, JC Jane, Toxic Attraction. MF, I'm sorry. I got to do it to you. I know how bad you wanted this for your girls, but not on this night. Sorry.
Yeah, I had a feeling. I had a feeling they were going to go this route. I mean, like I said, the biggest thing is that you have a legitimate tag team, and this was the best opportunity to crown new champions. Now, where do you go with this? Where do you go with the women's division, the women's tag team titles? There's not that many teams out there, and I really think this is a missed opportunity. I'm sorry. I think this is a missed opportunity on NXT's part, on WWE's part, unless they're thinking of moving Katana and Kaden to the main roster, which I really doubt, but I don't know. I mean, it comes to a point where, you know, look, Toxic Attraction is without a doubt the most powerful team in NXT. But the thing is you're starting to run out of teams for them to go after. I mean, that's the biggest problem that we're gonna have is who do you throw now? You don't know. And I think that was a major misstep. I think if they would have given it to Katana and Kaden, you could prolong the storyline. Now, and I don't know if they won clean or if they won by cheating. If they won by cheating, maybe that gives them another out and gives them another shot at this. But if they lost clean, forget it. They're out of the picture. So I don't know. I mean, it's still a good match. It's about 3 stars, but I'm a little annoyed. I think that's the best way to say it. So Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I agree with you on everything you just said, MF. But you tell that to Toxic Attraction, and they'll say, "Yeah, what kind of yeah, we're gonna hold on to these titles as long as we want to, and if it means having no challengers, then so be it." But yeah, I agree with you. This was a missed opportunity for. I mean, it was still a good match. It was a 3-star match, but I'm with you, Fletch. If there was ever a time that to crown new champs, I think this was the time. And yeah, I think NXT and WWE really, I'm sorry to say this, but they, and Fletch, you'll love what I say, they really screwed the pooch on this one. I mean, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter have been such a good tag team, and I think this was the time to put the belts on them. But obviously, that did not happen. So 3 stars for me. So Florio, I mean, this was a good match, but I'm with Fletch. I mean, this they missed a golden opportunity to crown new champs. What says you?
I said it on our preview show the other night. MF knows what I said the other night on Friday night. I said, if not Carter and Chance, then who? Then who? the only logical option at this point would be if Roxy wins the breakout tournament tomorrow night and decides to cash in on the tag team titles, and maybe her and Cora Jade could end up going after Dolan and Jane. You never know. That's the only other logical scenario I can see, because other than that, there's literally nobody else. But I'm going to give it about 3 stars. It was a fine match despite the impressive tag team work of Chance and Carter. The challengers have the kind of cohesion that can help them stand out amongst the competition. However, the finish was anticlimactic, combined with a rushed pace. Without a clear plot, it was hard to follow the action, especially when Dolan and Jane had control. With Toxic Attraction retaining, and here's the point I'm about to make, it is hard to see anyone ready to defeat the tag champions. And like I said, Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade may be able to form a tag team soon, but that is the only group that makes sense. 3 stars. Now we move on to the North American Championship match. Cameron Grimes defending against Carmelo Hayes. Winner of the match in 15 and a half minutes. And once again, new NXT North American Champion, Carmelo Hayes. Michael Bullock, how about it? Carmelo Hayes, the A champion. He says when he shoots, he never misses. And, well, he sure as hell didn't miss. He's got his North American title back.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say? I mean, he did it again, and now I can see why Fletch is so high on this young man, and he got his title back, and I'll give this 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. I mean, this was a very good match here, and yeah, Carmelo Hayes is once again the champ, but I don't know about you guys, but I saw in the back that I think Carmelo Hayes is not going to be able to celebrate that long, because Solo Sikoa, I think, is going to be chomping at the bits to get a shot at the North American Championship. So, yeah, Carmelo, you may be able to enjoy it now, but I think Solo Sikoa is coming for you in that title. So, nothing more to say. Florio, it is yours.
And I got a thought on that in just a moment. But, yeah. Solid match between 2 very game wrestlers. The action was fast without being hard to follow, and the 2 hit familiar beats together. What held this back is that it was nothing new from their past matches. The result was surprising, mainly because it cut Grimes' legs out from under him. This title run was supposed to be his time to shine. Instead, he was labeled as inferior to Melo. 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. And to follow up on Bullock there with Solo Sikoa, that's exactly what I think is going to happen. And I think the earliest possible date this match could go down, I believe, will be Tuesday, July 5th, when NXT 2.0 on a big special on the USA Network presents the Great American Bash. I think that's when the match goes down. And I also think that Solo Sikoa is going to win the title. So we'll see. But for right now, this was one of the fights of the night, no doubt about it. This had potential to be a show stealer, and it certainly appeared to be that. So 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. MF, your boy's back on top, but you might not get to enjoy. He might only get to enjoy it for at least a month, because Solo Sikoa is breathing down his neck, and I think it's going to happen at the Bash.
Yeah, this one caught me by surprise. I did not think that they were going to put the belt back on Carmelo. I thought Melo was not going to get that belt back. I thought they were going to try to push him for an even bigger title. But now he is the North American champion again. Look, I feel bad for Cameron Grimes. Grimes had a good title reign. And the thing is like you said, it undercuts his value. I mean, for them to pull that on him, I mean, a lot of people were not happy. A lot of people were very angry. And quite frankly, I don't blame them for being upset that Cameron Grimes lost the belt the way he did. But sometimes that happens. I'm happy that Carmelo's the new champion. Obviously, everybody knows that I'm very high on him, and now you know why. Michael Bullock is now a believer. And the thing is that he did it under an unbelievable situation. Big win, congratulations, and yeah, so incredible outcome. Uh, History was indeed made with the crowning of a brand new champion. So, nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
All right. And we move on to the NXT Women's Championship matchup. The champion, Mandy Rose, defending against Wendy Chu. Winner of the match in 11 minutes and 8 seconds. And still the NXT Women's Champion, Mandy Rose. Okay, this was an okay defense from Rose, mainly defined by story over action. The two tried to present Chu as a more serious competitor, but the action was too sloppy in moments to sell that she had a real chance. While Chu was not the best challenger, she should have been able to add more drama to this contest. The build made the win feel possible, but the match made it obvious immediately that Rose would retain. I mean, right now, Toxic Attraction, they're stuck in a boring rut right now because there are no clear challengers for any of them anymore. Alba Fire has a chance, as does Roxy Perez, but the matches do not sound exciting as rematches from earlier losses to Rose. So I probably would give this about 2.5 to 3 for the effort, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. So not much more to say. I'm have no doubt on the outcome, but the match could have been a little better.
Obviously, granted, and I'll give it 3. Yeah, the body of work was fine for what it was worth. It was a solid match, but you even said it. Now, where does Toxic Attraction goes? Who's the next challenger? I mean, one person that we were hearing was maybe Nikita Lyons, but Nikita's out with injury. Roxanne Perez could get a shot at it, but we're starting to think that now it could be Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade going after the tag team titles. I mean, you don't have anybody else. I mean, Abba Fire, maybe that would be, but the thing is, I think they've already done that match already between Mandy and Alba. So I mean, I don't know if I think in a true one-on-one they've never done it. I think it was like a triple threat or a fatal 4-way. They did that, and we already know that she went by. So I don't know. I think right now Mandy Rose is in a really great spot because, like we said, there's no legit challengers yet. And there's nobody else that's coming up the pipeline to even make a legitimate threat. So this is kind of one of those where it's just, they got to figure it out. They got to figure out something, and they got to do something really quick. So I don't know. We'll wait and see. But yeah, this was crazy. So nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
And like you said, Fletch, I mean, with if you're Mandy Rose, especially after retaining the title, you gotta be like, hey, if I got no challengers, this could be good for me. So, and I could be a champion for as long as I want to be. So, and you know what? And like she even said at the contract signing, maybe it's time that we put some respect to her, even though a lot of people aren't really down with her as champ, but it is what it is. So I'll give it 3 stars. So nothing else to say. Florio, it's yours.
We move on to the NXT Tag Team Championship match. The champions, Pretty Deadly, Elton Prince, and Kit Wilson, defending the titles against Brutus and Julius, the Creed brothers. Caveat, if the Creed brothers lost, they would be banned. They would be banished from the Diamond Mine. Winners of the match in 15 minutes and 19 seconds, and new NXT Tag Team Champions, the Creed brothers. They win the titles on Saturday night. MF, Monsoon, new champions. You know what that means once again.
Yeah, second time tonight I get to call it. History has been made. And yeah, this was the one that we all got wrong. But let's be realistic. We all called for Pretty Deadly to successfully defend the titles. We got it wrong. And the Creeds walk out with the gold. And you know what? I'm ecstatic. I think we all were thinking, maybe Roddy comes in and screws them over, and maybe that that kicks them out because they're so over with the fans. No, they did not do that. They let them stay, and more importantly, they get the belts. Major props to the Creeds. They deserve the moment. They earned the moment. This is their crowning achievement. They should have gotten the title shot after the Dusty Classic, never got it. Now they get the opportunity and they walk away with the gold. So I'm so happy with them. 3.5 stars. You could call this the fight of the night. This was the fight of the night in my eyes. Nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Like you said, I'm so happy for the Creed brothers. I mean, they worked hard to finally to get to the top of the NXT Tag Team division, and boy, howdy, they finally did it. I'm so happy for them. So 3.5 stars is my rating for this. So there's nothing more to say. So Florio, it's yours.
Slight underscore here, guys. I'm going fight of the night on this. I'm giving this 4 stars. This was by far the fight of the night. It had stakes and emotion from the outset. Both teams told the story of their rivalry where Pretty Deadly did not have enough tactics to overcome the Creed brothers' power. Finally, the Creeds are tag team champions. It was a long time coming, but this always had to be the end game. This reign can be one to remember as Julius and Brutus get better with each performance. It was a shame to dethrone Pretty Deadly so soon, but Prince and Wilson are multiple-time champions already across NXT and NXT UK. They will find much more success in the future. And what else is there to say? I mean, what a special moment. I mean, the Creed's parents were there. They were watching at ringside and celebrated with their boys after the win. A special moment. I mean, that definitely, that will pull at your heartstrings and, get and bring a tear to your eye, no doubt about it. And special moments. So well-deserved. So happy for those guys. 4 stars for me. This was the fight of the night. And now we move on to the main event of the evening. The NXT Championship matchup. Champion Braun Breaker defending against Joe Gacy. If Braun Breaker gets disqualified, he loses the title. Winner of the match, 15 minutes and 50 seconds. And still, the NXT champion, Braun Breaker. He almost got disqualified. Daryl Sharma, who was the referee of the match, I mean, he almost got victimized by the old Eddie Guerrero. Joe Gacy literally tried to pull an Eddie Guerrero during this match, and he almost got away with it. As Daryl Sharma, the referee, was literally ready to disqualify Braun Breaker, but then another NXT referee, Tom Castor, came into the ring and overruled him and said, no. Gacy was the one who instigated it. Braun had nothing to do with it. So Sharma said, okay, fight on. And there you go. Braun Breaker, still the champion. So, Michael Bullock, I know only one word comes to your mind after hearing all that, and that is, whew.
Yeah. And the thing is, Joe Gacy, he tried everything he could to get Braun Breaker to get himself disqualified, but thankfully that did not happen. And I don't know. I mean, this was a fine match, but it really didn't impress me that much. So I'm only going to go. I mean, it was still a good match. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I'm going to give this 3.25. I mean, I think this. It's just because of all the things that Gacy tried to do to instigate the disqualification. It really took something out of the match. That's just how I feel on it. So, but good for Braun Breaker for him to continue his run. So I really got nothing more to say. 3 stars for me. Florio, I mean, I know it should be higher, but it's just because of the way Joe Gacy tried everything he could. It just took something out of this match.
I understand where you're coming from, Bullock, but for me, I'm actually going to give this about 3.5 to 3.75 for this. Much like in their first match, Breaker and Gacy showed obvious chemistry. The challenger was more animated this time around with the story clear. He wanted to pull out Breaker's worst tendencies and force the disqualification. The finish was much stronger, clearly making Gacy a threat, while established Breaker was on a higher level. Right guy won, keeping the NXT champion as the symbol of excellence in NXT 2.0. Breaker nearly started swinging a steel chair at the hooded men at ringside, but he held back, allowing Gacy to send him headfirst into the chair and the steel post. Gacy tried the Eddie Guerrero disqualification with a steel chair, forcing the second referee, Tom Castor, to get involved to explain the situation to the main ref, Daryl Sharma. And Breaker speared Gacy, and this was the spot that really did it for me. Breaker speared Gacy off the apron through the announce table. And on returning, Gacy pulled a chair into the ring and used the distraction to hit a low blow. And there were some very good near falls in this. So I'll give it 3.5 to 3.75 of a star for me. So not much more to say here. MF, I mean, Gacy literally tried to pull one out of your boy Eddie Guerrero's playbook, but to no avail.
Yeah, I mean, Gacy was trying everything in his power to win the NXT title by disqualification and almost got away with it with the infamous Eddie Guerrero chair spot. I thought he was going to get away with it too. The way the referee was about, I was like, oh my God, he's going to ring the bell on him. He's going to ring the bell on him because you saw it too. I was like, when I thought about it, I'm like, oh my God, Bullock and Florio is going to lose it if this bell goes. And like you said, he was a microsecond away from becoming the NXT champion. And oh my God, what a moment that would have been. Joe Gacy as the NXT champion. We almost had it, boys. And you know what? Props for that pretty decent false finish, even though the outcome was never in doubt. Yeah, so nothing more to say. 3.5 stars for me. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, so overall review here, give it about 7.5 for the effort. The NXT 2.0 specials, we all know they're never, ever going to be as legendary and epic as the takeovers were. I mean, when they discontinued the takeover franchise, I mean, that definitely broke our hearts because, we all remember there was never a bad takeover. Every takeover was legendary and epic in their own ways. And the 2.0 of special events, since they dropped the takeover name, they've been good and they produce some of their better shows, but they're just not as legendary and epic as the takeovers are. I mean, it didn't really feel like a takeover. It felt like a special 2.0 on USA almost. But I will give it 7.5 for the effort. I mean, all the matches were fine. I mean, worst fight of the night by default, I would probably have to say maybe a toss-up with the women's matches there. But the other matches were solid to good to great. The tag team titles, that was the fight of the night for me. And, the NXT title was a pleasant surprise. I didn't really expect much, but that stipulation definitely made it better. And Hayes and Grimes, they delivered a gem of a match. So 7.5 out of 10 for me. So MF, your thoughts?
A slight disagreement. I'm actually going to go 6.5. It was still fine. There was some good stuff, but it was kind of not as remotely close as you thought it was. So I'll give it an all right. So nothing more to say. So Mike Bullock is yours.
I'll go 6.5 to 7 for this. I mean, it was still good, but I mean, there were some things that I thought that could have made this even better, but that's just how I feel. So there's really nothing more to say. Floria, let's get into Monday Night Raw.
Last night's Hell in a Cell delivered another fun pay-per-view that allowed the superstars of WWE to show the world what they can do. But the main story coming out of the event was how Cody Rhodes worked his Hell in a Cell match with Seth Rollins with a torn pectoral muscle. With Hell in a Cell now in the books, it's time for WWE to begin the build-up for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view on Saturday night, July 2nd, from the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Tonight's Raw dealt with all the fallout from this weekend and much more. Let's look at everything that went down on tonight's show. This is the namesake of this show, Ridiculously Raw. Monday Night Raw, live tonight from the Resch Center in Green Bay, Wisconsin, on the USA Network. And we started it off with, of course, the man of the hour, Cody Rhodes, cutting a promo. And he talked about the Money in the Bank. As you noticed, per the tradition, both the men's and women's Money in the Bank briefcases were hanging high above the ring. And Cody noticed them. And he said, yes, I'm a little banged up, but he said, hey, it's 4 weeks away. Maybe I can get there. Who knows? But he was interrupted by Seth Rollins. And, they actually shook hands. They had a little embrace. And Seth said, yeah, I still don't like you, but I gained a lot of respect for you last night because of your performance, the way you performed despite that horrific injury and that horrific bruise in the whole 9 yards. And we thought maybe we were seeing the real Seth Rollins here. Oh, no, we didn't. As Cody Rhodes was leaving the ring to a standing ovation, Seth Rollins ambushes Cody Rhodes from behind with Uncle Sledgy, MF. your old buddy, Uncle Sledgy. Boom. Takes him down. And let's be realistic. That was the write-off. That was obviously the write-off because, Cody Rhodes is scheduled to undergo surgery this week. And we hope to see a new Rollins tonight. And we were hopeful because he didn't do his usual laugh that Michael Bullock loves so much. But, well, I'll say it like this. If it was not for another segment in this show, I would have called this the segment of the night. But I'm actually going to call this the second best segment of the night here. And this segment was fantastic because most of it was genuinely emotional, but the ending kept Seth Rollins' heel character from getting any kind of babyface reactions moving forward. The best part was that it was legitimately surprising. When Cody Rhodes returns, he is going to be one of the most over babyfaces in professional wrestling. And as he walked to the ring, his right arm was just kind of hanging there. You could see he was still in pain, but he appeared to be in good spirits. And Rollins putting out his left arm to shake Cody's hand since his right arm was injured. That was a nice touch. But I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. MF does have a little bit of, some doctor know-how because he knows sports injuries. And I'm sure maybe he can shed a little more light on when the earliest possible day Cody could come back from this, but nonetheless, second best segment of the night, no question about it. MF, I know you weren't on the show last night with Bullock and I, recapping the event, but I'm very curious. I mean, I know you were just as much in astonishment as myself, Bullock, Didi, all of us in the WWE universe. I mean, that bruise on Cody, wow, maybe the ugliest one ever.
When news got out that he suffered a torn pectoral and the uncertainty of how bad it was, and we were talking, me and a couple of the guys from the 2184 crew, we were talking about it leading in. We're like, man, does that mean we're going to lose the match? Is the match going to happen? What's going on? Then we heard Cody was going to go. So we're like, all right, so how bad was it? Once we saw the bruise, oh my God, is all we were saying. We were saying some other words. PG show, I'm not going to repeat that, Bart. Repeat that bit. My jaw was on the floor. And yeah, I was astonished as you guys were over the great performance. And it was a career performance for Cody Rhodes. Love it or hate him, say what you will. This guy is an absolute warrior and an animal and should never have been out in that ring last night. But because he loves this business so much, all that ill will, all that negativity, for all the booing that he got in AEW, you can go screw yourself right now. Because that, my friend, is a professional wrestler out there. He did what many stars have done. Despite having an injury, he finished the match. And that's without a doubt the most remarkable thing I've ever seen. So I don't care if you're a WWE mark, an AEW mark, if you hated Cody Rhodes, or if you love him, acknowledge him, is what I say. Because that's exactly what he deserves. Acknowledgement for being one of the best damn wrestlers out there in the world today. Without a doubt, one of the biggest and best guys. And that was a heroic and courageous performance. Now, to get into the doctor part, and you, Anthony, you were talking about it. Depending on how bad he tore the pectoral muscle, and apparently from what I've been hearing is that he tore it clean off the bone. That's bad. So depending on, first off, they got to get the swelling down. That's the biggest part. They got to get the swelling down. And so whatever bone spurs or bone chips that's in that pectoral muscle. So I'll even show you what the pectoral muscle looks like. And I'm going to use my camera and I'm going to show it. So the pectoral is actually right here, right in this shoulder area. So this is where he suffered the injury, right here. And he clean went off the bone. So there's bone spurs and there's bones here. They're saying he actually broke a bone completely off. And that's why that's a significant injury. So what we're looking at, it's depending on the severity of the break, he could be out up to 6 months. That's possible worst case scenario. He could be back sooner, but depending on how badly it was torn. As a matter of fact, John Cena had a very same injury like this, and he actually came back within 2 months. I think he tore it in November, came back at the Royal Rumble in Madison Square Garden in New York. 2 months later from a torn pectoral.
I think it was 3. I think it was in October of 07, I think.
It was like late October, early November, Anthony.
Early October.
Yeah. So
I think it was the night after. I think it was the week before No Mercy, I think.
So
the end of September into October.
So you're looking at 3 months then. And he came back. So depending on how bad the break is, and that's all that it hinges on, is how bad did the muscle get torn? How bad was the pectoral muscle ripped? Because if they're saying it was clean off the bone, sometimes that's fine. As long as it didn't get any major cartilage damage, then he could be back within 2-3 months. So right now, if you're WWE, you're kind of hoping and praying to see him come back possibly at SummerSlam. That's kind of the window that you're looking at for Cody. Money in the Bank, I kind of feel he might be on the outside looking in, and I don't think he'll be able to make that. But he could be back in time for SummerSlam, or he could be back for that battle at the castle in Cardiff, Wales. Now, if he comes back then, that's a big deal. That's huge to get him back then. So right now, for me, and I gotta get more information. So that's why the news Wednesday is going to be so vital, because once we find out how bad he tore it, then we'll have a legit timetable and say, all right, he'll be back. He'll definitely be back by this point. Right now, we're looking at 3 to 6 months. That's kind of a rough estimate. But again, it all hinges on how bad of an injury it is. Obviously, you need the swelling to go down first. The swelling needs to go down. And that's going to be the very important part, because once that swelling is gone, then the doctors will be able to go in and figure out what's really going on with this pectoral muscle and, how bad was the torn. Because with it being swollen like that right now, there's nothing you can really do. What they're going to have to do is open him up and maybe have to drain the blood out wherever that swollen area is. They might have to drain that out first before they can actually go in and see what was broken, and how bad it was broken. So that's why we're kind of on the fence here, as we say. But my God, man, holy crap is all I can say. But we'll wait and see. So nothing more to say. And then as far as the attack goes by Seth Rollins, classic heel-like tactics. Amazing, amazing, amazing more than anything else. Yeah, nothing more to say. So Mike Bullock, it's yours.
And like you said, I mean, this is why Seth Rollins is probably the best heel right now in WWE, because just when you thought he shown the respect for Cody Rhodes after that performance, he basically destroys him. I mean, and then, of course, with Cody Rhodes, I mean, what can you say? I mean, it was one of the most guttiest performances I have seen. I mean, for him to compete in Hell in a Cell with a torn pectoral muscle, you gotta respect this guy. I mean, even if you don't like him, and I know all you AEW marks, you hated on this guy, and if you can't appreciate something like this, like Fletch said, you can go screw yourselves. So I got nothing but respect for this guy for what he did to go through what he did last night is nothing short of amazing. So nothing more to say. Let's move on, Florio.
All right. So, as you know, we only do the relevant stuff here. All right. We had Becky Lynch squaring off against Dana Brooke. At first, I thought maybe this was going to be a Money in the Bank qualifying match for the women's side, maybe. No, it wasn't. As the match started, the 24/7 idiots come out, and then Becky Lynch challenges Dana Brooke for the 24/7 championship. I'm like, Becky Lynch is challenging Dana Brooke for the 24/7 championship. Do you have any idea how far below her that is? And Dana Brooke wins the match in 2 minutes and 10 seconds and retains the title thanks to Asuka. So, oh boy. I really don't know what to make of that. I really, really don't. Becky Lynch challenging for the 24/7 championship, a title that is beyond beneath her. So that's just how I feel. So, and then it was announced that in 3 weeks' time, on Monday Night Raw on June 27th, Laredo, Texas, to kick off Money in the Bank week, John Cena is going to be on Monday Night Raw in 3 weeks to celebrate his 20th anniversary in WWE. And it would be 20 years to the day, because that SmackDown aired on June 27th, 2002, when he went one-on-one with Kurt Angle. And that's really where the Ruthless Aggression thing started. So mark your days down, June 27th. What a way to start off Money in the Bank week. So then we had Miz TV, Miz and Maurice, rare appearance from Maurice. And oh my goodness, did she look incredible. And then the guest was Riddle. And I'm going to tell you what, Bullock and I had a few laughs during our Raw chat here, because, you know, what happened here was, Riddle said something funny and about the Miz's, private parts there, if you will, and made a smarky comment, which, got me and Bullock going, and then it turned into a match with Riddle versus The Miz, with The Miz in a tuxedo, nonetheless. Bullock's heading out, so no surprise there. But Bullock and I had a lot of fun with this during our Raw chat, and Riddle won the match. I don't have a time of the fall, but it was silliness, but it was one of the rare kinds of silliness that was actually funny. And Bullock and I had a lot of laughs during this. Now let's get back to the serious business. Championship contenders match. Unified, undisputed tag team champions, the Usos, squaring off against the Street Profits, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins. Winners of the match via a countout in 16 and a half minutes, the Street Profits. MF, Championship Committee moment.
You kind of have to feel like, yes, this is a Championship Committee moment. This was a big win. Great win for them. And the Profits should get an opportunity sometime down the line. Big win for them, no doubt about it. So, enjoyable victory and nothing more to add. So, Anthony, it's yours. This is about a 2.5 to 3.
No, I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars. Because it was a decent match, but it did not end up being as good as we know these teams can be together. They got a lot of time and were able to pace themselves well. but it did lack some of the excitement we have come to expect from both duos. Most of the best spots happened after the second commercial break. Montez Ford ended up sending Jey Uso into the timekeeper's area when the fight spilled out of the ring. Street Profits ended up winning when Ford beat the count back in. The outcome was not ideal, but it was still a solid performance from 4 talented wrestlers. So, not much more to say here. And then Bobby Lashley comes out, cuts a promo, gets interrupted by the United States Heavyweight Champion Theory. And Lashley tried to challenge Theory to a U.S. title match, but he said no. And he said he didn't deserve a title shot. It was filler. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't really good either. And the U.S. and I said earlier, remember when I said the 24/7 title was far below Becky Lynch? U.S. title is definitely beneath Bobby Lashley, especially last at Hell in a Cell when he walked around with some fans' replica WWE Championship belt, which we'll see what happens. So not much more to say there. Then we had Veer Mahan versus Dominic Mysterio, and Veer Mahan wins the match, not in the dominant way you would think. He won the match via disqualification in 9 minutes and 20 seconds because of Rey Mysterio. This match went much longer than their past encounters and stretched through a commercial break. And it was kind of nice to see Veer get a bit more time to work. Match was pretty down the middle in terms of quality. Nothing special, but nothing to complain about either. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens with that. But now, let's get into the segment of the night here. The Judgment Day. Edge, Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley. They come out. They cut a promo. And Edge announced that Judgment Day was getting a new member. And that member, Finn Balor. But wait, there's more. We thought that the Judgment Day was going to be a 4-person unit with Edge, Priest, Ripley, and now Balor. But Damian Priest says, we're going to get rid of what we're going to do now is we are going to get rid of any limitations, and we're going to get rid of being held back. And then Damian Priest said, and we're getting rid of you, Edge. And we were like, what? And then the Judgment Day attacks Edge. They put him through the announce table. They give him a concerto. And let's just say it like this. This was the segment of the night. No question about it. The most interesting development since this group started. It feels like this was also how WWE wanted to write Edge off of TV for a bit, which was a weird choice unless he's injured. The segment went great, but what comes next is going to be the most important part. And this was a good audible. I mean, it just wasn't working for Edge. Finn Balor was ice cold as a babyface. And I'm glad that Edge and the creative forces were willing to make the necessary changes rather than dig their heels in. That this new group works for me. And it will ultimately put Edge back in the babyface position. It'll be a little awkward initially, but he's such a good talker that he'll be able to make fans forgive him fairly quickly. And that's all there is to say on that. But what a development here tonight. Segment of the night. MF, classic case of a double turn here. Finn Balor turns heel, Edge turns face in the process.
Yeah, and this could do Judgment Day a lot of wonders, because to get Balor in that role, and the thing is, that was not Finn Balor, that was Prince Devitt that was what he was like in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yep.
That heel attitude, that is classic Prince Devitt from New Japan. Leader of the Bullet Club.
I knew you were going there.
Level. That is gonna be all kinds of awesomeness, and no pun intended, but this could be huge. This could be huge. this is what he probably needed all along. So yeah, segment of the night. Nothing more to say. Florio, it's yours.
Yeah. We go from the segment of the night to the worst fight of the night. This was an absolute dud. Omos with one of the most delicious squashes you will ever see. A delicious squash of Cedric Alexander in just 12 seconds. Absolute dud. Move on. Ezekiel, one-on-one with Otis. Ezekiel wins in 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And next week on Monday Night Raw, Ezekiel will go one-on-one with Kevin Owens again. So there's your repetitiveness right there. And then the main event of the evening, a fatal four-way match to determine the number one contender for the Raw Women's Championship at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas on Saturday, July 2nd. Alexa Bliss versus Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan versus Doudrop. Winner of the match in 14 minutes and 35 seconds. And the new number one contender for the Raw Women's Championship is Rhea Ripley. MF, talk about a Judgment Day night. First, they get rid of Edge. They welcome Finn Balor as their new leader, so to speak. And now Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship at the MGM Grand. How about it?
Yeah, and I hate to say this, but it looks like they're setting Rhea up to become the new champion.
Agreed.
I think Rhea's gonna unseat I think Rhea's gonna unseat Bianca. So yeah, I mean, I just feel like right now the momentum is definitely going on Rhea's side, and I think she's gonna get the ultimate payoff. I think she's about to become the Raw Women's Champion. Um, so yeah, I think it's gonna happen. So uh, definitely a great four way. Any one of the four could have won it, but Rhea was the most deserving, and with the way that her story's been going, the correct choice. So nothing more to say. And Anthony, it's yours. I give this 3.5 stars.
Agreed. Everybody did a great job here. You could only point to a few minor mistakes, and that is bound to happen when more than two people are in a match. Putting Rhea over was the right call. The crowd seemed to be on board with this, and for good reason. We did get all four involved in an infamous Tower of Doom spot, but that almost always happens in this kind of bout. And how about Rhea Ripley hitting the Riptide on Doudrop? Very impressive. And that's really all there is to say on that. So, fantastic match, 3.5 stars, another one of the fights of the night. So, and it capped off a big Judgment Day night for the Judgment Day, as they have a new member, maybe a new leader in Finn Balor, and cutting ties with Edge. So, be interesting to see where that goes. Definitely a double turn there. Balor turning heel and Edge in the process turning face. So, all right. So, this show tonight, way too many cutouts, a lot of filler. We did get some good stuff here. We had two good matches, which was the women's main event and that championship contender match with the Usos and the Street Profits. And then those two fantastic segments, the opening segment with Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes, or Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, and then that Judgment Day segment, which really did it. So I'll give it about 6.5 for the effort. So my assumption is we'll probably start Money in the Bank qualifying matches next week, since you only have a good 3 or so weeks to build it. So not much more to say here. 6.5. MF, your thoughts on this post Hell in a Cell edition of Raw as we start the road to Money in the Bank?
Yeah, 6. 6 for me. I thought it was all right. Really nothing more to add. You pretty much took all the talking points, Anthony. So it's yours.
All right, we're gonna do a quick Tony's take, and then we're gonna call it a night here. Impact Wrestling starts it off, and Just bear with me for a moment here. Okay, here we go. There we go. Okay, waiting for it to load. All right, here we go. So we started it off with knockouts action. Savannah Evans versus Mia Yim. Mia Yim wins the match. I don't have a time of the fall. 2 3/4 of a star. Solid match. The one sequence near the end was really awkward and not very well done, but it's cool to see them give it a try. If they hit it cleanly and smooth, it would have been awesome, but it felt slow and clunky. They're building to a huge match with an mountain match coming up at Slammiversary. Then we had Kenny King putting up his spot in the Ultimate X match versus Blake Christian. But Kenny King wins the match. He keeps his spot in the Ultimate X match at Slammiversary. 3 stars. It was fun, but it really told me why Blake isn't featured too much in the bigger companies. He's fun to watch, but he's missing that it factor for sure. He didn't get the crowd behind him much at all, and it's not like they love Kenny King. They just didn't care for Blake. Match was solid, but it lacked something. Crowd gave it their attention. It just seemed they didn't care much. Matthew Raywalt stepping out of the broadcast booth and into the wrestling ring. He went one-on-one with the new digital media champion, Rich Swann. And Rich Swann won the match. 2.5 stars. It was just too short to say much about. Fine for what it was, but wasn't anything spectacular. I'm curious what the plan is for the digital media championship, especially with Cardona getting injured. Kind of interesting that one of Impact's most high-profile jobbers is a member of commentary. Then there was a segment with the Good Brothers and the Briscoe Brothers. They're going to battle for the World Tag Team Championship at Slammiversary. So we'll see what happens. Then we had Matt Taven and Mike Bennett of Honor No More versus Heath and Rhino. And Taven and Bennett win the match. 2 3/4 of a star. Decent tag match. I'm not a fan of Heath and Rhino at this point. They're a decent job squad, but I'm always saying I'd rather Impact focus on some new intriguing talent rather than those two. Then in the main event, it was Moose and Steve Macklin versus W. Morrissey and PCO. Macklin and Moose win the match. 3 1/4 stars. Fight of the night. But I don't get it. I mean, I'm sure it's on me, but still, Macklin picking up the win here makes sense because I believe Morrissey is on the way out, and he is on his way out. And that sucks because this run actually lasted longer than I thought. I don't know what's next for him. Overall, a good main event, even if I don't get the storyline behind it. And then the lights go out. Sami Callihan shows up. So it definitely looks like we're getting a Sami Callihan Moose match at Slammiversary. 7 out of 10. Not the best episode, but still a good one. Matches were all solid, just nothing that really crept up into the great or amazing territory. I enjoy the current storylines for the most part, and I'm glad Sami Callihan is back. I'm interested to see what the plan is after Slammiversary, as it feels like a big TNA-themed event because they are celebrating the 20th anniversary. I don't know if rebranding back to that is the best idea, even if the nostalgia is cool. I imagine it's going to be a one-off thing, but it's still a bit odd that it's such a huge focus rather than just putting on a great event. But then again, you only get those big anniversaries every 5 or 10 years. So not much really more to say on that. So 7 out of 10 for that. This Thursday night on Impact Wrestling on Access TV at 8 p.m. or at 8:30 on the Impact Insider membership on YouTube. For those of you who have that. 3 matches announced. Impact World Heavyweight Champion Josh Alexander will go one-on-one with Violent by Design's Joe Doring in a non-title bout. One half of the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, Tenille Dashwood, goes one-on-one with Rosemary. And then a 6-man tag team match representing Honor No More. It's Eddie Edwards, Matt Taven, and Mike Bennett versus TNA Impact Originals, Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, and Frankie Kazarian. So that all goes down Thursday night. So let's quickly get into NXT Level Up, and that'll be all. Just want to make sure I get it right here. All right, there we go. Just loading up a little slow. All right. All right. All right, here it comes. Started it off with a women's match, Fallon Henley versus Brooklyn Barlow. And Fallon Henley in 4 minutes and 19 seconds. It was a weird match as Henley just sold a submission for a bit and then hit her finisher out of nowhere for the win. Right person won, though. 1 star. Sloane Jacobs versus Tatum Paxley, another women's match. And it was Tatum Paxley, 5 minutes, 48 seconds. It got going a bit after the rest holds, but I'll give it a slight nod over the opener, 1.5. And then we had in the main event, Malik Blade and Idris Anafi against Javier Bernal and Dante Chen. Blade and Anafi in 7 minutes and 5 seconds. Solid match, as I expected. This show tends to give us decent to good tag matches in the main event, and this was no exception. I like the Blade and Anafi team, and at some point, they should get the NXT call-up and run against whoever the tag champs could be. 2 3/4 star, 6 out of 10. Main event made it a solid show, and even the 2 underneath matches were all right. The show has found a nice niche, and even if the wrestling will never be on par with what 205 Live had, it serves more of a purpose as it gives these kids a chance to work TV and in front of a crowd. So 6 out of 10 for that. That will put the bow on this edition of Ridiculously Raw. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in as always. We'll be back with you Wednesday night, 10:30. MF will be with us. It'll be on his channel, Racefan95. Another edition of Wednesday Night Madness. Another big show. We got NXT 2.0. We got AEW Dynamite. The Game 4 edition of the Rangers. It'll be a belated edition of the Rangers Roundup because Game 4 of that series is tomorrow. But we don't want to waste time on just one little thing. So we're gonna put it on Wednesday's show with NXT and Dynamite. The belated Game 4 Rangers Roundup, the New York Rangers, Tampa Bay Lightning, Eastern Conference Finals. And we will also have, and to close that out, it'll be the Game 3 edition of the Celtics chat, as it'll be Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Michael Bullock's Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors as the series shifts to TD Garden in Boston. So that'll be on Wednesday. TXN Sports World, we'll see. We might have some things on the pipeline. We'll put our heads together and see if we can figure something out. Friday, Cerebral Smack Talk. I think it'll probably be at 11 now because of the Colorado Edmonton series ending tonight. So it'll probably be at 11 p.m. Friday night, as it will be Friday Night SmackDown, AEW Rampage, and we will also have the Game 5 edition. It'll be another, unless we do have Sports World, then we could do the Ranger Roundup on that show. But if we don't, then we'll put it on that show. That'll be for the Game 5 edition. But we will have the Game 4 edition of the Celtics chat. That's for sure. So with all that, that will put the bow on this edition of Ridiculously Raw. I want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. So until Wednesday night, for Wednesday Night Madness over on MF's channel, Racefan95, it's Anthony Florio here for good old MF Michael Fletcher, and in spirit, the Phenom Michael Bullock, and the First Lady, the Twisted Angel, Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw the Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed couple of days, and until Wednesday, for Wednesday Night Madness, you've been watching Ridiculously Raw right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. And remember, my friends, no matter what anyone tells you, beyond anything else, wrestling is indeed actually real. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long. Bye, everybody. Bye.